Hey, thanks everyone for checking out my lesson on Comfortably Numb First Solo. I think this is really going to be a good one, man, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I do think it's going to be good, and so some of you are probably asking, hey, man, there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of lessons already out there on this solo, and what makes me think that yet another one is is even worth doing. And I have checked out a lot of those lessons myself. I really have. Some of them are really good at showing you exactly how to play the solo, and some of them are, they do mention the chords underneath, which is really important. But I'll be honest. I mean, unless I'm missing one, I haven't seen one that shows it the way I do. How I show pulling these solos right out of the chord shapes and the scale that sits around the chord shapes and how they all connect. So I hope this is going to provide value, and I think it's going to be good, man. So what we need to do is get out of the way a little bit of music theory, like we always do. And I'm betting that a lot of you know that in this song, there's a key change from the dark B minor side of it to the D major side of it, where it sounds happier, and it switches between them, and it's really cool. That's yet a different lesson, but I think it's probably an important one. But what you might not have known is that in the D, when it switches tonal center to D, it's not purely D major, and as you can see here, the DA is purely D major, and then the CG, ACGD, uh, is actually D Mixolydian. And what does that mean, actually? It's actually simple. In a couple of my other lessons, I've covered this. And it basically means, let's see, let's stop showing this. We will show this. So in D major, chords that are diatonic to D major um, are listed here. And so there's through the scale, you have your scale notes, um, with this whole half, whole half. So you got all the notes for every note in the scale. There's a corresponding chord, like we talked about before. Diatonic to D, anything that's close to a C, well, it's going to be a C sharp diminished. And in this song, that's not what we have, right? Oops, that's not what we have. We've got a C major. So let's do this and show that again. Oh my God. Yeah. So we got a C major chord, and that is not diatonic. That is not a chord that is diatonic to the D major scale. And so it looks, yeah, we're going to do this again like we did in previous video when we were in E major and E Mixolydian. So this C sharp just doesn't exist anymore. And in its place should be here is a C major. And when that happens, then it's D Mixolydian. And what that means is the notes, one of the notes was in the major scale, which is the 7, half step below the 1, can't be played, cannot be played. So we won't be playing it. Um, but when it switches, so check it out. When when the song switches, it goes through D A, then to the C G section. That's when it goes to Mixolydian. So in this first section, you do get to play the 7, a half step below the 1. And then in this section, you do not. And instead, you play, and you'll see it, man. It's a prime example of this Mixolydian and how you have to play the flatted 7 out of the key. And it's really simple because there's a C chord, man. So we can't play C sharp. It would sound terrible. And so that's basically what we're looking at, music theory wise. You notice that I'm not like this A-shaped D chord. I'm not even showing on the diagram because it's pretty much like not even there. I mean, he doesn't play any notes out of that shape, and hardly any out of the the A shape. Hardly any, really. This 5 is the only one that gets played there. So a lot of it happens up here, and probably a lot of you have already learned to play the solo, at least uh, to some degree, and maybe you're looking for better understanding of it, hopefully, because you'll get that if you stick with me here. Um, so it's not the easiest solo to get right, and phrasing wise, man. I mean, you really gotta, if you want to play it just like Gilmore, um, you gotta really nail that phrasing. Of course, my tone is completely different, than his is. I didn't try to cop that tone. It's kind of an odd tone bit to me, but it sounds killer solo. So what we have is we have this triad, this D triad, and it's a D-shaped triad, right? And so let's just start out here. So you have this raking, and then it goes to this, so this 5-1-3, right? So it goes the 3 of this chord is what's played first during the D, and it's just a bend one half step up to the 4, and then all right, I'm gonna do it without the bends first, so you can just see the notes. Okay, so basically you got the bends up to the 4, right? And then this guy bends up a whole step, which is 2 frets to this note right here. And so right away, when that happens, what we want to be thinking about, that's when it goes to the A chord. And look at this note right here that it bends up to is part of this A chord, A major. So if we think about the A major, 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, that's the E shape. There's the 5. So he's bending up. As soon as it goes to the A chord, we bend up to the 5 of the A chord, which is beautiful. It's targeting the 5 of that chord. Okay. And then now we're in A, right? Or not, we're not in A, but we're on the A chord. And then so we walk down. So you have to figure out how you're going to play it. One of your fingers is going to have to play this triad, this A triad. So anyway, we bend up to a 5, which is part of an A chord up here, right? And then we walk down. This is actually a 7 of the D major scale, which is part of this A triad right here, right? And then when it's done there, let's see. And then back to the D chord. And then you do the same thing. And it bends up to the 4. And then here again, arpeggiate that again. But then right there is on that note is right when it goes to the CG section, Mixolydian. So let's hold off on that for a second. So we got this, the second time through it goes, right? It goes. So this is so cool because so we're still in that on that A chord, right? It's the last time the A chord's played. So it goes and that is a D, right? So this is a D again, the 7 because we're in D major, we get to play the 7. So it goes. So let's see what we have here. This is a D. So that's the 1. That is a 7. That's a 6 that does not get played. And that's a 5. So 5, 6, 7, 1. So it goes. Now I'm not sure if that's a bend up to this note, as far as the way Gilmore plays it, but this is definitely the note that you want to hit. All right, so I think we nailed that pretty well, right? Let's do that second part just one more time. See how it just skips over that 6? I heard one guy say that live Gilmore played and actually played like that, so melodically down, and but on the album, the studio version skips that 6. Okay, so that is the major scale. And now Mixolydian wise, so there's a lot of blue dots here. You can see, and this time I'm actually showing the A shape of the D chord because there are a couple of places, I guess there's some notes like that are adjacent to it. So okay, so when we ended the other one, first section, the D-A-D-A, D-A-D-A, it went like this. So let's look at that. So what is this? Is a G, right? But if we just look at the D scale, we're in Mixolydian, which means it's going to be a flatted 7. But this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is the 4 of the D major scale and D Mixolydian. So it goes up to here and then comes back up. And so that's really just, this is like part of the D scale. It's no big deal, right? Just kind of, this is all on that G string, and then it goes hammer off, pull off. I don't even pick the D string. I just hammer onto it. And I believe that's the way it's played. And so you're doing this. You like slide up to this. Oop, that's been too high there. So you slide up. So it's bending this guy up just one step, one fret. Sorry. So it's a half step. It's like doing that, but it's a bend. And then it's another rake. So that's just. So it looks like you're kind of going around a G. This would be G major, but we're in D, of course. But yeah, you can actually play like the G major scale over D Mixolydian, which is a whole modal thing that I don't really fully understand, but it's true. So when we look at this, it kind of looks like we're doing a G, but we're not playing a G. Let me show you in the context of what I prefer. So this is the C shape D chord, right? So let's look at this lick here. I think this is the best way to play it, just like I did there. But we could play it up here as well. So here's that. See, when we look at it up here, we can see all those scale steps, like they're sort of like around, the triad, you know what I mean? And then ending on a D, right? So it's the same thing. I just think that it's to understand, how it's coming out of the D major scale. And remember, like here, we're not hitting a 7 at all. I think it just is easier to understand, but this is the way you probably got to play it. Now this is the key Mixolydian part. Here we are on the D string, right? On the D note. And then remember on the first part in the DA, we were able to go, we went down to this note. We won't do that now. Now we go, so. We skip over that 7 and we play that flat 7. And then hammer on. And then it goes. So let's do that again. So that is that's a D, right? And then the flat 7, the 6 to the 5. That's 5, and you look at that 5 right out of this shaped D chord. And then it goes. It's a whole step. Yeah, a whole step, which is 2 frets. You bend that up to that G. That's also a whole step. So like this guy is bending up to that, and this guy is bending up to that. And that, of course, right there is a D. And then back down to the. And so, when we when we do this, that is an A note, right? So out of this A chord, E-shaped A chord, get the 1, 5, 1. That is an A. So it's funny because it's the 5 on the D, on the A. This is funny. On the A-shaped D chord, it's the 5, but on this E-shaped A chord, it's the 1 of the A. So it's beautiful. There's so many target notes that he hits throughout this. So, man, I think that is everything that I wanted to show you. I think I went through it kind of quick, but you can slow it down if you want and slow the video down. And I think that's a wrap, man. Rock on.